Hello everyone, thanks for joining me in this video. According to Sahara reporters, the terrorists overrun the Nigerian military in Kwara State, seizing 6 machine guns, 30 rounds of ammunition in the continued onslaught of the indigenous people of Kwara State. That is quite very unfortunate development in what appears to be a dramatic turn of events. Recall in most recent days, one of the leader of the communities in Kwara States publicly admitted, as been reported by Sahara reporters, that the military, the DSS, refused to go into the bush to confront these terrorists, citing they have more robust network, sophisticated weapons deployed against the indigenous people and the security operatives. They could not, because of this level of sophistication they operate with, armed to the teeth. And another development have been showed, citing that the military were overrun, allegedly, according to Sahara reporters. What is the implication of this? It is not the first time these terrorists who are bent at overrunning the entire states. Of course, of recent, we saw the invasion of the military base in Borno State, where they were celebrating. They have captured more of the Nigerian territory, have fallen to them. It is quite a very disturbing development. But all this are happening, and we have a government. One should have expected the Tinubu administration to have declared a marching order or state of emergency in Kwara State, or those communities to get to the churches and these assailants to justice. It's quite very unfortunate that the Kwara people fleeing for their lives, calling for safety in Cameroon, suggests a collapsing security system. It is very unfortunate, honestly. Although after some hours of publication of this, the Nigerian military came to deny such events, claiming that the military were overrun and such never happened. Well, whatever be the case, but we are not doubling into such endless arguments, but our concern is, why is Nigerian citizens, communities, in their indigenous communities being ransacked, being killed? Does the defense headquarters have an answer to this? It is not just coming to debunk whether the military will overrun or not. What is important and what should be our priority is, are Nigerians safe, secured in their different regions or communities? What exactly is happening? Who is sacking communities? Why is Nigerian population deserting their ancestral homes, fleeing to another country as IDPs, as internally displaced persons in their community? Who is after this? Were the military not saddled with the responsibility of protecting life and properties of Nigerians and the territorial sovereignty of the Nigerian state? It is not just coming to debunk that or to argue endlessly, but the current realities could no longer be denied. Could the military as well deny people fleeing, over 5,000 people, Nigerian citizens, in Kwara State, communities fleeing for their lives? At one certain time, was it in Borno State, it was also reported, including the security operatives, joined in running for their lives because they were overpowered. It was in Borno State and eventually scurried for safety. Now, in most recent days, Quara has been on the spotlight. What exactly is happening? As it's been reported, that even helicopters are being used to supply ammunition from Burkina Faso, the Sahel regions, down to Kwara states to unleash mayhem. And we've seen such level of escalations in most recent days or weeks, honestly, that have remained unabated. What exactly is happening? As season 6 machine guns and 30 rounds of ammunition added to what they have, you see, to unleash mayhem. For crying out, these people has been in operation for several months, keep expanding their horizon, occupying more territories within the defined Nigerian territory, being compromised. For you to be or claim to have been a sovereign state, you must have control over your territorial sovereignty. Now, if such is being compromised by invaders, then it means that is a fundamental problem. The security of the state is being threatened. What the military is meant to do was to protect at all costs the territorial sovereignty of the Nigerian state or of any responsible state as to avoid external infections, which currently is already happening. And the military could not deny this. Could the military deny the invasion of the Nigerian territorial space, which, of course, is on the news? Sokoto, Borno, Kwara, Zamfara, Katsina, the list is endless. What exactly is happening? Also, been reported that Kogi, about several people were killed in Kogi State, adopted. What exactly is happening? Where is the place of intelligence? Sadly, the Nigerian security intelligence is being unfortunately sabotaged, as it's been revealed by even the governor Zulum of Borno State that there are informants within the security cycle, within the politicians, feeding these terrorists, revealing the secret and giving them intel about the operations or the plans of the military. This have informed the reason why uh, the military operations have been sabotaged, oftentimes being ambushed ahead of time. So this situation, this situation is quite helpless, as the service chiefs have admitted that there are more to this. This is beyond political, and that there are underlying factors regarding whatever is playing out this time. Now, could it be said or indirectly telling Nigerians that the safety, of course, could no longer be guaranteed because it should the DSS Director General calling on Nigerians take up arms, mobilize yourself, defend yourselves, mobilize yourself and defend yourselves. And the Chief of Defense Staff saying Nigerians got to learn combat skills, operations to defend themselves. So indirectly declaring the state of emergency that every Nigerian should now become their own security. Whether you are trained or not, is a state of emergency indirectly declared that you should learn combat skills to defend yourselves. It has gotten to this point. Unfortunately, some are still living in denial of these current realities. But the military has given their signal that is fire on the mountain that will not be contended again. Everybody run, run, run. Run to where? Some who are fortunate to have survived the onslaught, the massacres, scurried for safety in Cameroon. It is very disturbing case. And here we are today. If the military saddled with the responsibility, of course, to protect the territorial integrity of the Nigerian state, will be making such suggestions. What does that imply? I mean, people who are trained for war are now telling this bloody, if I may use the common words most of the security operatives used to describe Nigerian citizens as bloody civilians, which is not it is out of place, honestly. But then defenseless, untrained civilians to defend themselves, to begin to learn compact skills and defend themselves. What exactly were they telling Nigerians? That ihe emebigo, ihe emebigo already. But they're still using the, diplomatic way to convey the message. If the military chiefs could tell Nigeria that the people killing them are foreigners, what were their responsibility in the first place? Why were they the military chiefs? Where were they employed to do? If they understood their aliens coming, invading Nigerian territory to unleash mayhem on the Nigerian people who they swear or took an oath of allegiance to protect its people and territorial integrity, then shouldn't they be held responsible? If you tell us they are aliens, where are the aliens? Why were they not being arrested or brought to justice? One of the boss of the Nigerian intelligence, military intelligence agency, and the rest of them, the Yoruba man, made revelations that about 400 Boko Haram were intercepted in the process of the operations. But sadly, under Buhari's administration, was released rather than being prosecuted. These are excellent terrorists whose mission was to overrun Nigeria to dislodge, destroy every living being and take over the land, just as they're declaring now that Nigerians have been displaced in their regions. They put people in cage, children are not spared, burn them alive, celebrating the destruction of humanity within the defined Nigerian territory. Yet, nothing is being done to forestall further occurrences. Now, the military could no longer contain the level of spread of these oppressions of these terrorists. Because while it is happening in Zamfara, of course, Katsina state is boiling, Kwara state is agog. I mean, across the regions of the country, it becomes pretty impossible or very difficult to contend with overstretched military personnel and unfortunate resources. You see them expressing some level of frustrations, and the rest of them, their welfare not being catered for, as expected, and the majority of them being demoralized as seeking to leave office. You see about how many of them military that were about to be court-martialed for complaining the stagnation in their professions and they're not being promoted for several years and the rest of them. It is quite a very disturbing development, honestly. And what does that suggest? What does that suggest? The military being deployed to Sokoto, Kwara, Katsina, Zamfara. It involves lots of logistics, human resources, and the movement of security personnel oftentimes end up being ambushed and sadly losing their lives. So, what the Nigerians should have expected the military to tell Nigerians why is this insurgency prevailing? Does it mean there is no political will or courage on the part of the military? If the military are saddled with the responsibility of protecting the territorial integrity of Nigerian state, now what exactly is happening? Could the politicians be blamed of frustrating their efforts or sabotaging the cause of the security of Nigerians? Despite seeing several Nigerian citizens, defenseless, innocent citizens, being burnt alive, that should have been enough motivation to go after these assailants and bring them to justice. International communities are frowning at such development because calling it barbaric tendencies and primitive or parochial dehumanizing way of life is uncalled for. While some security and traditional heads and politicians are trying to cover up for such atrocities, it's been alleged that over several thousands of Christians have been killed within just a year, and nothing seems to be moving the government to take proactive actions. Where do this lead to? Now, it is one thing to come out to debunk Nigerian military being overrun, but why should these non-state actors be contending with the Nigerian security operatives for several months? Why are they using the Nigerian area or airspace to move sophisticated weapons to their designations or locations, where they eventually distribute that to also unleash mayhem? Why is the airspace vulnerable? Recall there was a time that the chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, said they wouldn't want to release, they would not want to share the airspace, Nigerian airspace, with Simon Ekpa and the rest of them. That will amount to a national threat. Now, why is Boko Haram making use of the Nigerian airspace uninterrupted? Has been alleged moving ammunition from one point to the other. In the recent past, it was alleged that even the military, the jet that was used belonged to one of the top politicians within the Nigerian state or former head of state or thereabout. Why are they making use of Nigerian airspace, moving their procured arms and the rest of them within the defined Nigerian territory? Oh, there are no answers to that. Why the double standard? Why are the life of citizens being politicized. No, these are important issues of national concern. Denying whether the terrorists operated overrun the Nigerian military is not the question. What Nigerians want to understand, why are they still operational? Why are they still sacking communities? Why are Nigerians fleeing from their ancestral homes, calling for safety, even within Nigeria and outside the shores of this country, running for their lives? And some are being ambushed in the course of fleeing. Now, these are issues that should be, concerns should be prioritized rather than coming to debunk whether they are being overrun or not. But the reality cannot be denied that the Nigerians are fleeing, living in IDPs. Some want to return back to the IDPs, to their ancestral homes. They are fed up and tired of the frustration and dehumanizing experiences they've been subjected to, their communal and economic life being disrupted. And oftentimes, they're being targeted in those internally displaced persons. No adequate healthcare, no shortage of food and the rest of the it is quite very frustrating, honestly. What exactly is the government doing to return the citizens back to their indigenous communities? This should, of course, dominate the discussion in the public domain, in the medias. What exactly is the government doing with these people live the rest of their life? Some have been there for more than a decade or two, and yes, it appears it has become hopeless, or there is no any sight in view or hope of returning back to their ancestral homes, most of which has been reoccupied by these assailants and renamed after their own nomenclatures. Let's have your own take regarding this and what you think would be the way forward.